Now, I discussed the latest poisonings with Kyle Olson. He's the former president of the Chemical and Biological Arms Control Institute.
Well, Novichok was developed by the Russians, actually by the Soviets, basically in the 80s. They were looking for a chemical weapon that would be in some ways more effective than the traditional weapons that were in both the US and the Soviet arsenals, but also weapons that would be outside the controls of the International Treaty on Chemical Weapons.
Liquid, powder, gas, and how long can it linger, its impact?
Well, that's it, all of the above. Novichok is a very flexible agent. It has some very interesting properties, and it does linger in the environment for a good period of time, which is one of the reasons that the British now think that the victims today were not probably targeted, but may have simply come in contact with materials that were used in the attack on the ex-Russian spy.
So why were they the only two that were exposed, or maybe others were exposed but didn't feel the impact? Is that a possibility as well, or no?
Yeah, the old saying is that it's not the poison, it's the dose. And in some cases, people may have come in contact with it, then may have washed right after, may not have had time for the material to penetrate their bodies. We don't know how they came in contact, whether they actually found a former container or a container that had held the material or some environmental area. But no doubt they had more contact for a longer period of time with more of the poison than other people that have not shown any illness.
So is the city of Amesbury, the surrounding areas, are people at risk?
Well, I think people are going to be at risk until they identify what and where the source of the agent actually is. Again, probably not a critical risk level, because it's not likely that there's that much material in the environment, but the possibility of somebody stumbling into it, as this couple may have done, remains a risk. Now, there is one other possibility.
Which is?
And that is that this may, rather than have been an accident, may have been a deliberate effort to throw authorities off of their theory that this was originally a Russian attack.
And is it possible that the Novichok used in the last attack was not perhaps disposed of properly, and that's why the remnants are still there? I mean, what other possibility is there?
It had to come into Britain, or it had to be made in Britain somehow and then contained and used against in the earlier attack. However, again, one possibility is that this is some sort of a false flag operation designed to persuade authorities that Russia's intelligence forces had no role in that original attack, that this is just some random actor carrying out these attacks.
And the initial attack that happened a few months ago on the ex-Russian spy and his daughter, they were in critical condition, they were in the hospital for a long time, but they seem to be okay now. So there's a good chance you can recover from this type of thing.
You can recover. There are lingering effects, but they did survive, which again suggests that the amount of material used in the attack was relatively low.
And if you're the investigator in this case, what is the #1 thing you would be looking at here?
One, I'm looking to make sure that it's the same agent. And then two, I've got to find out where they bumped into it. Where did they find it? If they found a container, I've got to find that container. If they were targeted, I need to backtrack their actions and figure out where that happened.